Oh, great. Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Phil Saville from CIS, and we provide IT support and cybersecurity solutions for small to medium-sized businesses. Today's talk is probably one of the most important topics in IT, and it's about backing up your business data, a subject that I'm extremely passionate about. And I'm joined today by David and Erin. David is a technical account manager at CIS, and Erin is here to support us and keep us on track and answer any questions that you guys submit in the comments below, so we can then sort of answer them for you. Obviously, if you're watching a pre-recorded video stream, then still put your comments in and we will definitely come back to you with any answers there. And I'm going to start with my presentation. So if you just bear with me, just share this with you. Here we go, screen 2. Excellent. Okay. So who's got your back, or who's got your backup? Just thought I'd add that in. And the questions that we're going to answer today is my current backup good enough? You know, how do I know it's good enough? What functions should my backup have? And what happens if a disaster happens? What do you do? How long will it take you to restore from? What things you need to think about and what are the knock-on effects? And then the other question is, you know, why do I need a backup if my data is stored in Dropbox? And you know, of course, you know, have you ever tried to restore a file that was deleted over a month ago in Dropbox, or any other the solutions? Your Google Drive, your OneDrive, your iCloud, they're all those public cloud solutions. Have you ever tried to restore a mass of files, or have you ever tried to restore, you know, a corrupt file? So, okay, so let's get going. So before we start, 17% of businesses don't have some kind of backup in place at all. And I believe at least 50% of businesses are missing important data in their current backup, either due to remote workers storing data in different locations, or the times have changed since you reviewed your backup and so on. So, but this is what the majority of 83% are using for a backup method. And the first one, obviously, is an external USB hard drive. This is a popular portable USB hard drive, or a flash drive, those little USB things. And of course, you know, they really just fit in the category of better than nothing. And I know in a lot of these fail, businesses have multiple devices in a drawer, a real GDPR nightmare, or they never know if the data is good enough to restore on it. And it's definitely a sort of a fingers crossed solution. Then you've what's called a NAS, so it's a network attached storage, and this is a device which has multiple bays, which allows you to install multiple hard drives, and you can add more storage when required. You know, you can spread and mirror the data across multiple drives within the device, with sort of like a RAID configuration. So that's, you know, a lot of those people are having those. And then you've got online cloud solutions. With a lot of these cloud solutions available, people are tempted with these without understanding fully the implications. I know of one customer who was trying to restore just over 1 terabyte of data from an online backup that he had, which actually turned out to be in America. And because the broadband was poor, and actually the company that was providing the backup capped the data transfer rate so low, it actually took 46 days to restore just over 1 terabyte worth of data. And also, what happens if your data is corrupted with ransomware? And is your backup corrupted? You can end up restoring the virus back again. And I'll talk more about ransomware later. A cloud solution managed by your MSP. So MSP is a managed service provider. This is what CIS is. We provide the IT support, and we are a managed service provider. So having a cloud solution with an accredited MSP provider provides that extra layer of support. But make sure that you still ask questions like where your backup is located. What happens with a successful ransomware attack? What is the estimated restore time that they believe that they can recover from a disaster for you? And you know, and then you should be able to advise you on documenting a disaster recovery plan for your business. and of course public cloud. So these are your Dropbox, your Google Drive, your OneDrive, and your iCloud. And people believe this is a backup. It's not a backup solution, people. It just syncs your files across different devices. And again, we'll come on to more of that, but it's definitely not a backup. It's just a solution to syncing files. So why would you need a backup? So first, obviously files and folders, have been deleted by a mistake or on purpose by a rogue employee. Files do get corrupted every now and then. So again, you might have to restore from that. Hard drive failure. So hard drives, like I said, are the devices that are in your PC that hold your data. 250,000 hard drives fail every week worldwide. Okay, so at some point a hard drive could fail for no reason. It just happens. Lost or stolen devices. You'd be surprised at how many laptops get lost or stolen. Before lockdown, Heathrow Airport would experience approximately 950 lost or stolen laptops a week. And the biggest threat is obviously ransomware. And I'll come again onto more. I'm getting to it, and it will be more later in this quick presentation. So things to consider when you're selecting or reviewing even, your backup solution. It's important to do this on a regular basis so you understand the details to make the right decisions. So how much data and where is it currently? Is your data currently in one location, multiple locations? Are users saving files locally to their devices, that are avoiding just backing up selected folders? We've known customers to back up selected folders, and then over time, new folders are created outside of this. And then, of course, they're not included in the backup selection. Calculate how much data you have in total. And of course, your data is going to grow over the next 12 months. So can you estimate what's happened over the previous 12 months? And also then, how much data would you have in 3 to 5 years? And work on the worst case scenario. And the cost, well, don't look at what it's costing you, but almost look what it's saving you if a disaster occurs. And I can assure you that the savings on a disaster will outweigh, at least 20 times of what it costs you to actually do a regular backup. What type of data is important to you? So again, it's not just necessarily about files and folders. Is it emails that are important to you? Is it the data in the accountancy software? Is it particular applications? Is it particular configurations on your network? There's all these things to consider, and not just have a files and folders backed up that you can restore from. Then there's manual and automated process. A lot of businesses rely on individuals in the office to complete a backup, change that device, and then store a copy of it in a safe place. Reality is, and we deal with this day in, day out, it doesn't happen. And of course, with lockdown, it's less likely to happen. And actually, you don't want to be in a position where you're putting the biggest risk on an employee, making sure that backup one has been successful, and that they have done it. You'll be, that person goes on holiday for 2 weeks, and then all of a sudden there's no backup recently. Of course, where it's automated, it can be scheduled out of hours. Alerts can be created if it's successful or failed, and so on. And a successful backup, this just means it started and it's finished. But has your data been verified that it's complete at the place of rest? So does the backup copy match 100% with the original data on the server of where it's backing up from? And are you notified that it's been verified, it's successful, and of course any failed attempts and so on. And of course, if it does fail, what happens then? What's the process? Who deals with it? How is it dealt with? We always recommend a cloud backup for a full peace of mind, and where possible, having a local backup purely for speed and convenience. Ideally, a NAS device, as I sort of mentioned previously. Having the two combinations is by far the best solution, and the best chance of restoring quickly and efficiently and effectively if anything does happen disaster-wise. Recovery point and time, two of the most important things to consider. The frequency of the backup, and if needed, how far you could go back to restore from. And of course, CIS can help identify what your business needs are. Recovery time, you may need to include a replacement hardware. If a server hardware fails and you need a server, it could take between 4 to 6 days for a replacement server to be delivered, installed, reconfigured, and then data then restored back onto that. Does take time. We can obviously help reduce that time significantly and make sure that you've got the right solution in place to recover quicker and quickly, and creating a disaster recovery plan, so you're aware of all the elements to make the right decisions to protect your business. So, ransomware attack scenario. So what happens when your data is encrypted with ransomware, and how can you recover? An employee could easily, by accident, install ransomware from an attachment in an email or download from a website, and that's demonstrated by this stick of dynamite. This is your malware or your ransomware. This typically sits on the device for 6 to 8 weeks, finding sort of where all your data is and potentially spreading to other connected devices before it ignites. And then suddenly it's ignited. Okay, the time ticks, and then before you know it, all your data is encrypted. So can you restore from your current backup? When was the last backup? And hopefully, if it was the day before, otherwise, you've got a lot of repeat work to do since your last backup. Oh, sorry, just go back. And of course, if you back up from the previous day or week, the backup will still have the original ransomware virus on it, before obviously it was ignited. And as soon as it is restored, chances are it will reignite again and you're back to square one. So this is where you would potentially need expert advice to restore the data in an isolated environment so it can't be ignited. Remove obviously the malicious software with specialized tools before then fully restoring it back onto either a new device or another device. A couple of stats for you. 50% of companies in the UK have experienced a ransomware attack, so hugely at risk there. 58% of companies pay the ransom. You should not pay a ransom for 2 reasons. Firstly, there's no guarantee that you are going to get access to your data, or in the case that you do, the data could be compromised. The saying goes that there's no honor amongst thieves, and the data held for ransom could well be corrupted during the process, or backdoors left open within it so hackers can regain access into your network at their leisure. 32% lost files after refusing to pay, down to not having the right backup in place. 63% experience obviously severe downtime. So again, it's having the right solution and the right recovery in place. And 4% of organizations, only 4% of our organizations are very confident in the ability to stop ransomware. So yeah, make sure that this is where a managed service provider supporting your backup comes into play. Couple of actions. Review your current backup solution, and again, CIS are happy to provide. We're providing a free backup audit in June and July to assist with that, and make sure that you're fully aware of what's in place and what's there. And obviously create a document to help with a disaster recovery plan that you can follow, that you understand, and it's there when needed. And of course, that will then help you review your backup, and they'll both work in sync together. So that brings my presentation to an end. Just wanted to highlight, a free backup audit for your business during June and July. My details are on here, and of course, I think Erin will provide other ways that you can inquire about our offer. So I'm just going to remove our presentation and bring Dave and Erin back.
Great. Well,
great.
Welcome back, everyone. Thank you so much, Phil, for another great presentation. I think this is our last one currently. We are going to be doing some new and exciting projects soon on our social media to replace these live videos. But thank you so much for doing them every single week without fail. You've been really great. And thanks, Dave, for being here to answer questions.
No problem at all.
So we've got a couple of questions to have a discussion around. Phil, I'll direct the first one towards you. So with a cloud backup solution, how do you know where in the world your backup data is?
Okay, good question. So just to clarify, a cloud backup solution. So a cloud basically is a server somewhere else apart from obviously in your office that's managed by somebody, and you just basically store your data on there. And that can be literally all over the world. And what we're finding is there's a lot of online backup solutions, but of course you don't know where your data is, and that's really important. So make sure that you do your research and you find out actually where your data is being stored, and whether it's in the, in Europe, in Britain, in different places, and it's not just spread all over, and you just need to know that. And of course, CIS, we've got what's called a private cloud, and again, that's we can tell you exactly sort of where it is, and you can literally, we'd even do tours to it so you can see it, but it's physically in the UK, and again, it just helps to know where your data is, that's being backed up to. So make sure that, and use that as part of your sort of disaster recovery plan.
Does it actually matter where the backup is, like the data is, like country-wise, or is it more that it's in one place, or what's important?
Yeah, it can do regarding GDPR. I mean, obviously, it's just making sure that so you can tell people that if you've got personal information, that it is stored in the US. I mean, there's no problem with it, but you just need to be aware of where that data is. And of course, like I said, one of our examples where we was an American company that providing an online backup, and of course, they were taking money every month from the customer, and when it came to restore, literally 46 days to restore just over a terabyte of data. And again, there's nothing they could do about it.
Great. Dave, have you got anything to add?
I would say that make sure your backup is within Europe for GDPR purposes. It's I've seen some right nightmare scenarios, again, as Phil says. And the thing about your backup plan is make sure you exercise it. So once a quarter or once a month, obviously depending entirely on how valuable your backup is, always exercise your DR plan, and make sure that it's up to date.
That's a really good point, actually, Dave. Yeah, a lot of people, they do, their backups and everything, but they never test it with a restore. And yes, you can just restore by restoring one single file, or but actually, you should be doing a test at least once a quarter of a full restore of your infrastructure, or your whatever it is, but a full restore of your backup, to make sure that if it does happen, and of course, then by that you can then build that into your disaster recovery plan. You can look at timescales and so on, and what the sort of add-on effects are, and then you can then obviously plan around that as well. So yeah,
sounds like a good idea.
Great. I've got one more question, Dave. I'll direct this to you. So this person says, I've got 20 employees and we use Office 365. Why do I need to back it up, and what can I actually back up?
Okay, so I think Phil mentioned this in his presentation. Office 365, or Microsoft 365 as it's now known as, does not include a backup. It includes something known as data retention, Erin, where effectively if you delete a file, it will remain in the recycle bin, or remain sort of locally restorable for somewhere between 30 and 90 days, depending entirely on what the data is. So it's important that if you do utilize Microsoft 365, that you do have a proper Office 365 backup solution. Now at CIS, we sell one based on Veeam Cloud Connect that effectively will back up your tenant, and it will back up everything. It will back up every single individual email. It'll back up your SharePoint. It'll back up files in OneDrive. It'll back up Teams data. And we offer a service that will keep that data for 1 calendar year. So it's really important to have an Office 365 backup because obviously one's not included in the actual product itself.
Great. Anything to add, Phil? Or?
No, I mean, Dave sort of nailed it in a nutshell, really. But of course, having it as well, because your backup of your Office 365, you can determine where that data then is stored. And like I said, with CIS, we've got our own sort of private bunker where we store our data there. So it's not necessarily all with Microsoft. So if something does happen disaster-wise with the whole tenant or certain aspects or rogue employees or whatever, you can come straight to CIS and we can then restore that fairly quickly and easily for you. Otherwise, you've almost got to join a queue of Microsoft, and actually there's no sort of guarantee service level agreements in there, and you could be down for a day or so, if not more.
Sure. So to summarize, if you guys could each give me your top tip around data backups, what would your top tip be? Your biggest piece of advice? Sorry to put you on.
Do you want to go first, Phil?
Yeah, I'll go first because then it's just in case you pinch my idea. For me, it's document a disaster recovery plan. It hasn't got to be detailed or anything like that, but from start to finish, just write down what things need to happen, what could happen in certain scenarios. I mean, it doesn't have to be every scenario. Ransomware attack is definitely one, and a hard drive sort of hardware failure is the second one, and then probably the third is just user error. But those three scenarios, think about those and think about what would happen, how would I then recover, what sort of timescales involved, and really go through it. But again, it doesn't have to be technical, and then get your MSP provider to bolt into that information and give you the sort of answers that you can't answer. And then that will provide a disaster recovery plan or something to at least start with and work on. Dave.
Well, thanks, Phil. So my best recommendation, because Phil's nicked mine, would be to test your backup, and not just the ones, but regular. Make sure your backup is secure, and make sure your backup is consistent. That will allow you to sleep at night, especially in these unsure times. So definitely test.
Absolutely. And that could just be a single file regularly, once a month, once every two, it could be as regular that, and then do a full sort of restore, sort of less frequent. But again, it's just as long as you can do that and different types of files that you can restore from, then yeah, that's a really good point. So I think those two are definitely the key ones going forward.
Great. Well, thanks guys for your top tips. Sorry for putting you on the spot, but I really appreciate that. So if you've been watching, thank you for watching, and hope you've enjoyed our little live video series. Hope it's been useful to you. Just because we're not carrying on doesn't mean we are not still here to answer your questions. So any questions at all, we can direct them to our Facebook page, to Phil. His contact details are in all of these presentations, or to our CIS email, which is solutions@cisltd.com. So feel free to get in touch with us in any way you like. And yeah, go on.
I just want to say, obviously, while we've been doing these, we've launched our new website.
Yes.
So again, there's a lot of information in there where, there's a lot of stuff in the knowledge base. And again, copies of these sort of presentations are in there for you to share with your staff as well, use them and present these to your staff. But yeah, there's PDFs, there's know-hows and everything else in there. So definitely check out our website. And
all of our contact details are obviously there as well. And then before we go, just to mention again that offer we've got on. It's a new offer until the end of July, free audit and consultancy. Phil, you already mentioned that. But again, get in touch with us in any of those ways and we'll do our best to help you.
Yeah, peace of mind, guys. That's all we want to deliver, peace of mind. And just by providing you an audit, even if you've got already an existing managed service provider, you know, let's just make your audit and give you peace of mind that they're delivering what they're supposed to be, and maybe pointing out some new areas that they haven't thought of, that can definitely help and protect your business.
And it's free, so nothing to lose.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Great.
Well, thank you again, both for, and everyone who's participated actually in our live videos for being good sports and coming on here with me. We've really enjoyed it, and we hope you've enjoyed watching. So thanks again, guys, for being here. And we I don't even know what to say. We look forward to giving you some more exciting content soon.
Thank you, Erin, as well. Thank you, Erin.
Yeah, thank you, Erin.
All right. Thanks, guys. Take care. Cheers.